into rehab treatments over and over and over and over and over again. And so it's I always get this mindset of, well, if you can't beat them, join them, and that just made things worse. And then I have found out that there was a lot of other activity going on outside of my marriage, and when I found that out, I lost my mind, and I I wasn't coping very well with that. I couldn't believe it, and then I look back, even through my videos, I look back over the years, and I can see it, and my own hair loss. I And how that started was with all of that, being gaslit because there was a relationship going on right under the surface that was being hid from me, but I could see it all over the place. And but I didn't want to believe that. And so, but it took a toll on me physically and with my own mental health. And then when I got myself back together again, but see, when you're literally on top of each other with this pandemic, there was no way that you can hide that kind of stuff. And the way it was we were getting a lot of DoorDash because we weren't going to the grocery store. We were afraid to leave the house. And so I remember him saying, flipping his phone to me, saying, "I'll take the dog out to to walk the dog. Watch the phone for the DoorDash." And so it was buzzing and buzzing, and I grabbed it and I looked, and there were messages. I was blown away, just shocked, but almost like I knew it anyway. So it's just strange. And so I tried to like let it go. I don't know. There were months that I tried to deal with it, but in the end, I couldn't take it because it was all fueled by, living with someone who was drinking 24/7, because at that time they were door dashing alcohol. And it was just, I would go to sleep at night and I would be woke up by, a raging lunatic, out of their mind, screaming. And so I wasn't sleeping. I was sleep deprived, and it was just a nightmare. And I look at my life and I know that if it hadn't been for all of this, I would still be there dealing with this mental.
Okay.
I could sense, this sense the relationship, like we weren't sleeping in the same positions, and we weren't talking the same. And but it had been right after he had come out of the last rehab. And so I was at that time, I was continuing my education, and so I had a lot of courses to do to get my degree. And then it was contingent on my job, and I loved my job. And so he was very supportive of that until it actually came down to being supportive of that. um, but in that time frame, uh, when he was, seeing someone on the side, things were changing. The dynamic wasn't the same. We weren't engaging in each other, and it was, this way. And so it just, just the stress of the mental stress of trichotillomania, it just took over on me again, and I couldn't control it. And it had been dormant my whole life. I experienced it initially when I was very, very young, like fourth grade. And that was because my father was an alcoholic. He was in the Air Force, so he would be with us and he'd be gone. He'd be with us and he'd be gone. And so it was like a corporal punishment type environment that I was raised in. And so I had my initial, which I think is for most people when they are like young, like that, at that age group. And so I dealt with it then. And then when my mom and dad were divorced, I got I got better, normal. I mean, I thought, I thought it was gone for good, or at least dormant, like in remission, if you will,
Well,
until this gaslighting thing is where you question your mind. You know what you know, and but when someone says you're wrong, you don't know what you know, then it's like this crazy thing that happens in your head. And it's the term now is being used as gaslighting. And so that's what started it back. And then, boy, once it turns on, it's almost like an on and off. It doesn't just turn back off, it takes time, but it seems like it goes in like a year span. I was just shocked that, there I was in my early 50s, losing my hair, which I had done in the sixth grade. It was just shocking. It was because I have a very public position with my job. I'm going out into the public, I'm going into classrooms. I was just mortified. And to lose it all, that's when my mother was talking about, you should get into wigs. And that was quite a wonderful journey. And then once I kind of thought, well, maybe it's all in my head, maybe, and we moved away from the area, which is where he had this relationship. I didn't know it had went with him. There was no support in my wig journey initially, and I think that could be because they look kind of odd when you first start doing it. You don't really know how to, like, walk around or wear it. I was going to therapy and doing all the things, and I was losing my mind. I would just focus in on the college classes I was taking, which were really really amazing to be as an adult taking these classes, because I remember Napster. I remember when Napster first rolled through. I was a part of that, and then to be learning about it, and it was just like, wow, I'm really getting old because now it's in curriculum. But it was really hard for me. I was questioning my sanity all the time, because of what I was hearing and seeing. I was being told is not what it is. As you question your reality, you start to lose your mind. But you don't see people on YouTube, experiencing these things. They everyone has, their channel and their thing that they present. And I was just doing mine because my mom was really the backbone of getting, like, the hair thing started. So she was really really active and to getting me looking like myself again. And so she was very supportive of buying these things, because these things are not they're not they're not cheap. And then there was that too. Then something crazy happened, was I got like this addiction to it, like, that I didn't care if my marriage was coming or going, or my job was coming or going. It was all about, what else can I get, and it was just an incredible experience to have these styles and these looks. And uh I can remember, like, early on, just like starting to, like, own them, because I was not a left hand parter. I'm always a right hand parter, and they put that mono over here, and when I would do it that way, it would look funny, and so just trying to redo it and stuff. And my mom's like, you and I had such a hard time trying to find things and things that worked and what to do with them. And she's like, you've got to get up there and just start telling people, this is how it is, that's how you look for it, and this is what you do. It was, I remember going, getting into bed with one on, thinking maybe this will be, and just just the reception of it was just, it was so hard. I mean, it was such an emotional, mental, horrible, like, environment to be in my own head. So this wasn't all of that. This wasn't all that unfamiliar to me. But they've come such a long way since. I mean, every year they're coming out with other colors and things like that. So um I felt awkward at first, because it just overwhelms your face. Like, so for example, this time around coming here, I need to get a Kansas license. And look how can you see how, I don't know if you can see it. I don't know where this one came from. I don't know if I had ordered it, or I was sending lots of wigs and old wigs and stuff to my sister, which, at one point in time, she just shoved them all in her cedar chest, and she was bringing them all out. And I think that was one I had sent her, and is one I used to wear. And so it was like, get this on. We're going to go get your driver's license picture. It was like 2 weeks after I got here. And I didn't know how to do it. It's like I lost all of the ability to do it. I didn't recognize myself in it. I didn't know how to fix it. When I got here, was I started donating my plasma for money, because I had no money. I mean, I drove for 3 days to get to my sister's house. I had nothing. I had to just leave. I had my cell phone, and my sister said, just get in the car and start driving. So I had absolutely nothing. And I mean, everything that I own is gone. I had some really good pieces and really good colors, and but I had gotten out of wearing them because I wasn't going to work with the pandemic. So I had gotten used to my own hair. This job is different in the fact that I have to wear, protect, safety protective gear. And I didn't know how that was going to work with this, because this is like, it's like fabric. It's like your clothes. You have to keep it all covered up. You can't get, blood on it. Yeah. And I didn't know how to do it. And everything looked so fake. And it was very, very And then of course, and I remember this from the last time. It's once you do it, you take the plunge, you can't go back because they've seen you now in something else, and everything just looks so fake again. Everything looks so like not natural again. And I didn't have I don't have the financial uh finances that I had before. I don't have two incomes. I have only my own. And the income level in Kansas is way different than it is in California. She got her into wigs as well. She always had a problem getting her hair to go. Both my sisters. I have two sisters. I have one sister I grew up with, and then I have a younger sister who came along later. Both of them, I was able to kind of introduce into their lives for totally different reasons. And so for my older sister, she loved the convenience of just having to, you didn't have to spend time in the morning with a blow dryer and all this mess, and it still not look good. And the coloring, and you go get it colored, it's not what you think, and then they cut it too short, and then just the tears and the sadness. And so she but she's not like my older sister's not like me. I'm in here and I'm like fix it up, make it up, put it up. And she's just more of a like keep it nice and perfect. And now we go, like just just the so she opens up her cedar chest and all the things that I had sent her, whew, she still had. Sorry, she still kept everything that I sent her to play with. So I had some fun things to kind of help me once my hair started going again. Crazy. Let me find something else here that's yeah. Here. Give me a second. I don't know what I've got. I've got a mess. I've got it's a it's a new one. Yeah. Yeah, so this is my new one, and I thought I was getting like a better deal on it. So it's not I don't think I would have picked this color had it not been for a better deal. I got a good deal on it. So it was probably like a return of some sort. So the color of this one is candy brown long root, LR, candy brown long roots. So I've had this one up on my channel a little here and there. This is so good because this is good for my job. I probably wouldn't be so enamored with it if it weren't for it's just perfect like for my job, because um I have to wear that shield and then because I'm around bloodborne pathogens and they blood flies, and so it's perfect. And then to be in a it's perfect. What's so fun about YouTube is that you can see your piece styled different ways. Like I don't think I would ever do this like right down the middle, but I saw someone because there are so many more people now reviewing in so many different age groups and face shapes. You got really long faces, you got really round faces, and just different styles than there were back, when I even a few years ago. So I like never thought in my life I'd ever be a right down the middle person, and I don't know why. I think I just so I went straight into Wichita, Kansas, which is where I was out of high school and left from here. I left from here to be a grown up, and I went from here as a kid, in my late teens, and then left and was in California for like 30 some years. But I rolled up right into my older sister's house. This is my sister who I grew up with, and rolled right up into their house, which was packed. I mean, she's, it was full of everybody. And she gave me a room, and it wasn't long before I started donating plasma because you could donate like 8 times and get $100 for each time because I had to get rid of the Mustang. It had a car note on it, and the cars weren't being paid on anyway, so it was going to get repossessed at some point. So I had to get rid of it, and then I needed money, for an attorney. I had to get a criminal attorney, and of course I can't talk to my husband because I have a restraining order from the state that says I can't talk to him at all. So here I come. I come from being a vegan for several years, eating plants, to to the Midwest, which is grass fed, grass, grass everything. And so I gained a lot of weight really fast. And because I mean, I can't sit in my sister's house and tell my brother-in-law, who does mainly all the cooking, yeah, I'd like to have some carrots, you know, uh, forget the meat, I can't even believe how different my life is. But I just thought that I would be like just marking time, waiting for things, to pass, get through this court thing, because the state brought charges on me, not him. And so I was never in the right frame of mind to talk about it on YouTube, to anyone really, anyone. No, I never told anyone that I was working with. Every day I would get at least one comment on one video that I had posted, and I never lost subscribers. I lost subscribers who were subscribed to me for just someone I worked with, like at a job, who knew. They weren't a channel watcher, they weren't a wig watcher, they weren't all of the legit wig people watchers. They have all stayed. I at the time I wasn't focused on that or the channel or anything. They wanted content from me. And I never watched rig reviews before. I wasn't watching them during all this. I was watching like uh furniture flipping kind of stuff. Like I got this dresser here for like $25 on Facebook Marketplace, and I brought it home, stripped it down, painted it. I was into that. It was taking my mind off of things. I wallpapered a different wallpaper on every wall. I mean, I was occupying my time and have trying to enjoy my life, because I was I didn't want to live anymore. I mean, I was having a hard time finding reason to live again, and I wasn't who I was or who I'd ever thought I was going to be again. I started to realize over time that my life as I knew it, that I had built it into being, was dead, was gone. That was somebody that was never going to be resurrected again. And that, so who am I? And I don't want to be. And it has been a real mental challenge. And I would go to therapists. I get it at no charge from my job. And then, so I was to a point where I was about to lose this job. And then I thought, well, God, what kind of work can I do? I'll never be able to go back into my career field, because I tried to do that, but I can't work in education, putting people to work in their field and in their jobs with a criminal background. And that's something that, even though I hadn't been convicted, it still shows that I'm in process in the state of California. And I was dropped so fast from callbacks and stuff. So there's the loss of my career that I had worked for and built and loved and nurtured and grew, and I can never do it again. I mean, I had losses beyond my comprehension, and I literally didn't want to wake up anymore. And I had never been in that place in my life, I think. And I've been in some pretty dark times and spots, but never like that. And I tell you, honest to God, the only thing that I think saved me many times was the Chihuahua, because I thought, who's going to take care of him? Who is going to, feed him or walk him the way I know he wants to be fed and walked? Like, there's walking around the neighborhood, but he likes the dog park. He likes the terrain. He likes to get in there with the big dogs, because he thinks he's one, and just, I mean, who's going to do that for him? I didn't trust anybody to do that for him. And I really truly believe that many times he has saved my life. I live with my two nieces, so I live, because I mean, my expenses, I've had to shell out a lot of money in a lot of legal fees. So I'm looking, I can take my position here, and it can grow with me, and I can move with it, and I can, relocate it, and maybe go to Florida at some point, because I see people of all different uh, walks of life, and most of them are donating plasma because of a reason. They need that money. It isn't a guarantee. It's a gift. You donate your plasma, and you get the gift of, a fee. So um, I have to wear this shield, and people come in there and they see me, and and they're like, "What did you do to your hair? Like, what is that?" And I never experienced that ever in my life. Um, having so many people question it, and it I was really surprised at that, because all through the first journey, all the things I'd ever heard from other people were like that it was always well received. And maybe that's a culture thing. I was in one level of life, say working mid class, and now I'm not. I'm in a like a different class now. I live on the south side, if that tells you anything. I'm not trying to be discriminatory, but there's just something about your where you live and the area you're in, and how you're taken. And I hadn't experienced that since I was a kid, being on the south side. And um so that has been quite something to have to be like so conscious of it already. I'm already conscious of it, but then to have people can I touch it? Can I touch it? And then when you say, it's just it's alternative hair or whatever it is. Like, can I touch it? Or then it gets like into these long conversations. I don't have time for that. I got to get the next person, and I don't want to talk about it anyway. And it looks so good, and it's funny how quick their memories fade. But a lot of people don't donate all the time, and so they haven't seen it yet. And then for something about me is I get tired of the same look every day, and I want something different, and then a different color. And that came back to me this time around too. Or I can't just buy whatever. And so I had my sister had saved, which were big pieces that were going under these shields, and they didn't fit right, didn't look right. It's not the right work hair, like Broadway with all its curls. And so I had actually got an Alva, the first Alva, when I was back in California for my actual sentencing. And I picked that up there, and it was like so perfect because it hits the collar, so that if anything gets, it can really get protected. And it was just perfect and simple. And but then there's something that just kind of gets you, like where you want more and more color and different colors and styles and excitement. And it grows for me from there. I got a new boss, and he was a young whippersnapper. And he was coming out here from the West Coast, and he had something to prove. And he looked at me like an old lady who couldn't get around and was grossly overweight, because I'm out here in the Midwest where everything's cooked and fried and all this
Yeah.
meat, and I'd come from eating vegetables. So the weight gained on me huge. And I had all this gray hair, and then it was like, like bald spots, and it was just terrible. And I was mortified, and I could barely make it into work, or I'd go to work and come home and not go back to work. So I was on my final written warning. And that's when I realized, oh my God, what would I do? I have, if I don't have this job, I can't fight my case. What I just it and everything else at one time. So I started dieting. I started dieting just to get up the steps to go into bed, to lay down, to sleep all day, and then do it all over again. So I had to make a change. I had to do it. I had to make a change. And then um yeah, so I just had to take that plunge again, like I did the first time. And I'll never forget it. The anxiety, the heart pumping, the chest, like, oh
Yeah.
my God, oh my God, they're all going to notice. They would stand in line and look at me, and they would like talk. And it was horrible. It was horrible, but I had no choice because I had bald spots that weren't going away. And now I have this hair, and so I was trying to look like I was living and not dying. And so it was a struggle. The shield that I wear didn't fit around that Broadway. It was a Broadway. It was Broadway. The one in my driver's license picture. It didn't fit. It felt funny, and it kept like it wouldn't sit upright, and it was odd. It was a huge adjustment. And I was thinking to myself, this is what it's probably really like for women who are putting themselves in this, and they're watching a me on a wig channel that doesn't even come close to what's really happening in the world. And I had gained a ton of weight, so I put myself on a diet. And I had to make some serious life changing decisions. And I still didn't know the outcome of my case, and what was going on. I mean, I was looking at 5 years in prison, 5 years in prison from the DA. My life was just and just it was very hard to sort out. It was very quiet and very lonely, and just I didn't know who I was. It was something else. So I didn't have money to be buying wigs. And so I started looking at the cheaper stuff, and that's like kind of where this stuff came in. And I mean, this is what women are dealing with, and then I just think they're getting on YouTube and they're looking at me, and it's like, this isn't realistic. This isn't real life. And so it was really hard for me to even think about making a review or of what of this, like this can't be like for real. And then women are still commenting on my videos. Wait, where are you? And asking questions. And I kept telling them, I would respond and I would say, well, and I was mentally trying to get back to it, but I just couldn't. I would try, I would kind of set things up to try to make a video, but everybody else had videos. And so what did they need a video of me? Like it just didn't seem like it was going to matter if I did one, but they kept asking. But I just felt like nothing looked right. Like I couldn't make it my own. And I think that was more not just because I was buying them wrong, but because of my own mental state. I didn't look in the mirror and see myself anymore. I didn't recognize myself in my reflection of my car window. When you get in the car, I didn't know who I was. And that was a big part of it. I lost a little bit of weight and I could kind of see myself again. I saw myself again. I could see my reflection of who I am. Somebody had asked me in an old video about the bronzer. I was like, oh my God, I forgot all about that stuff. Like, so it was interesting how the viewers asking me all along the way. And so I went from looking like this in the mirror at myself to being able to like remember like just how to move it around. Like I don't know why I thought I was afraid to move things around and like just make it my own. I had to relearn, like they were learning from me and I was learning from them asking me again. So then putting a little color on my face, I saw myself again, like, oh my God, that kind of looks like me. Like I had really stopped notice. I forgot what I looked like. Where did they make this wig from? I got I have a whole bag of real hair that's just a real mess. I feel like when I got back to making reviews again, like it and I remember this from before. Everyone saying like they just look so good on you. Well, like I mean, I've been sitting here messing with this. This
Yeah.
is not a good piece. It's just not a good piece. And I got it because it was cheap. Well, so that's the other thing too, when you start looking like you're living, and not dying,
Yeah.
'cause you look like you're dying when when you have hair loss and your whole complexion and facial expressions all just go with it. So when I started, it was all came from the turning point of my job and losing my job and how that was going to impact me overall. So I started looking better, and of course, then I start feeling better, and then I start getting solicited for business, if you will. So I'm getting the offers like, each encounter I have at my job is one, like, hey, we should have coffee, or we should, so that was really foreign to me for a while because I thought now I'm back into wigs again, and now it's going to have to explain that again. But yeah, so I decided, I was tired of sitting around being by myself and being bored, and I wanted adult company. Yeah, and so I selected one, if you will, that had been, dropping hints about, hey, we should, get your dog together with my dog. This time around is a whole lot different in different ways, like being at work and people at work not understanding it, like why is, like what. And so I guess now they're just to the point where they're just like, what's it going to be today, like a an amusement thing, like oh look. So it's like I guess they expect it now. But when, and that could be true with the individual that I chose to say like, hey, yeah, let's um go out for coffee or whatever it is. I picked one, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a challenge too because I still have other things I have to deal with my past. I'm on probation. What's funny is we were just talking about it last night. It's funny. I said, do you know I'm the same person that was? And he said yes, but always just seemed like a wounded bird, like wounded, like just, I didn't engage in a lot of conversation at over the each procedure and until a certain point in time when I started looking like I was living. I had color in my face and I had color in my hair, and I just color on makeup. I didn't wear makeup for 2 years. I was a shell of myself. You wouldn't have
Yeah.
recognized me. And so now I look like a living being. And when I talk, it's pretty engaging, it's interesting conversation. And people want to hang out with me and talk more about all kinds of stuff. And so it's just interesting now to be in a relationship with someone that is still pretty brand new. And but to be having, to be meeting their family members and things, but then I'm in this type of hair. And I think I'm back to where it was the first time around with how I look underneath and being comfortable in that. I think I found out that I had more of an issue with it than he did. And we watch so many wig reviews and we see so many people, like this group of us women that are all in wigs and all talking about wigs. But in reality, if you put us all together where we're actually at, we're so far apart from each other.
Yeah.
It's not like everyone around us is wearing wigs. So men don't know, their experience with it is not big, to even know this stuff. So
Mhm.
to have to be so confident and comfortable with it yourself to take it off, but that's not, it is still a journey. You talked about a journey, to be able to take it off. And or if it gets bumped and moved around, it's like just, oh, it's another stress level that we never really hear about on YouTube. I don't ever see it. I don't, all I hear is just, just sit them down and just tell them and how lucky you are that you're going to get a redhead tonight and a blonde in the morning. And it's not like that in real life. It is like I'm planning way ahead when I know we're going out or I'm going over or whatnot. I'm planning like how, like, knowing I was going to talk about this with you, it gave me the opportunity to sit down with him and talk about this with him. And come to find out, I'm the one that's got more of an issue about it than he does. It's interesting how the mind works because he knows that was me, but doesn't make the connection, uh that it's me. It's two versions of the same person, but almost, because I would, when they stand in line and they get who they get as they go through the system here, they hear me talking and singing and interacting with, just where before I was just a shell. So I'm like two different people. I mean, I can't blame him for responding to me here differently than there. I mean, I'm in full living color where before I was black and white, literally black, gray and gray hair, black and white. I can't blame him for responding to me in a different way now, or anybody else who's like dropping their phone numbers and that type of thing, wanting to visit with me because I'm alive. It's like somebody turned on the light switch or color television, and now you just saw me last week in black and white, and this week I'm in living color. I look at my first relationship with wigs and that man
Yeah.
different than now.
Right.
So the first exposure and experience with wigs that I was having several years ago in my channel started, my husband was not into it. It was as odd looking to him looking at me as it was to me looking at myself in the mirror. And I was trying to figure out myself in it, and so was he. And for him, he would rather me not do it, thinking, I feel like he thought I looked like a clown. I'm not saying he said that. I'm just saying that's the attitude and thing I got from it that made me feel it wasn't easy to get going. And so there's that, and I think I expected that this time around, but this time around I'm in a different, I'm not married to somebody in my home. I don't have that dynamic that I'm dealing with. I'm dating. It's a different dynamic this time around, but different still because you don't want to be fake or phony, but you want to look decent and alive. So uh he doesn't have any issues with it. He says I have more of an issue with it than he does. And it's true because I don't like what, I wouldn't wear this if I was happy with what was going on underneath. And now this time, because I've lost it and it's grown back in, it's like white. My hair used to have color in it. Like if you go back and look through my channel, like right before I stopped, I was making some videos in my own hair and it had color and variety. Now because that has all come out, it's all come back in, and I'm only 56. It's all completely white.
Yeah.
I look, and so that makes me look older. And so, like, it's just, it is this, it's a mental journey, this whole journey, it's with ourselves and with the people that we put into this with us, that it's okay with them. It's really complex. It's not as big of a deal for him as it is for me, because in my first relationship, it was a big deal for him. The channel was a big deal in my first relationship. Didn't like that I was on out, saying like, look at my problems. And then this one is completely different. And this one doesn't care about the channel, doesn't watch the channel, doesn't even know what it has, no interest in what I'm doing or saying it anyway, because that's not what he's interested in me for. We have a blast doing or saying it anyway, because that's not what he's interested in me for. We have a blast. I mean, we laugh. My stomach hurts. My sides are killing me because we laugh so hard about just, it's an incredible relationship that I'm having that I've never had in my life with anyone. And I think it's because I'm coming from a different place. I'm so disjointed from where I was, and so everything is like, I'm not making like lifetime decisions. I'm making them very small. Here's another one. I don't know what this one is. It's probably a mess. Yeah. Yeah, this is another mess. Oh, this one's a mess. This one's gonna need like everything. But see, this just goes to show you that they don't all work. They don't all work. And that's the one thing I thought I was getting across on my channel, was that I don't look great in everything. And I don't want to show that I look great in everything. See, here's this tag. I mean, this is all I could afford at the time. I was putting all my money out on legal fees and things, and I could not afford I couldn't afford like a John Renault. And then when you get it and it's not easy to work with, and I don't have a husband to support me in anything, so I have to really be careful with what I'm purchasing. And like, this just isn't it. And when I see this on a YouTuber who I think I respect and admire, that wouldn't that I think they've done something, because how are they getting what they're I never ask anyone to like and subscribe. I did, because that's what you did back then. But I'm not interested in anybody liking anything they don't like, or subscribing to something they don't and really want to see. And I don't make any promises, and I'm not interested in showing just the best of the best anymore. Like, I really don't care about that, because I'm a different. I mean, I really felt like I was very genuine before, because it was all new for me, and I wasn't interested in putting on airs. That's why I would go out into my environment and just be. I had a YouTuber that I adored when I first was watching YouTube, trying to navigate my way in my crazy relationship at home, and my loss of hair in my life, and how to figure out things. And I had one I just adored. She was awesome. And I couldn't, I would stay up waiting for her to drop a video and watch again and again. And go, blondie locks, blondie locks. I would take still shots of how she would style it and look at it. Yeah. And she would show how she would cut it down, and I loved her. And then one day she was gone. And so I know that's what that's like. And she's gone. She is gone. So I know what it was like for me, and how I felt. It's different for me this time. I kind of felt pressured to get back on. All 3 years of like saying, I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming. And then I didn't want to get on here and be a downer. And so just in trying to get stuff that I can work in, trying to show that, not knowing how well received my legal situation would be, because that's not something you see on YouTube. And everyone has an opinion, and I see people in a different way than I ever did. It's so I'm still like so starting out again, all over again. The wig channel part of YouTube was on the rise back when I was in the mix, and it's kind of gone its thing, and has its celebrities, if you will. And I didn't grow with that, because I had life pull me down. And I look back at the channel and the videos I created, it did appear that it was glamorous. I used elements of what I saw when I would watch my YouTuber, my Blondie Locks. The elements she put out in her videos, the things I really loved about them, I implemented into mine. Where she would say, "Okay, Jeeves, get the car," and So you'll see that where I walk back and I say, table for two, and how it would look if you really saw me. It's not just like, here's my right side, here's my left side, that's what we were seeing, it's like, so that you could see the realism that it could be. I love that about hers. Hers were a little, they were cute. They were over the top because they were like, she was like a princess and she would smile and she'd have like her tooth like sparkle and blondie locks. Still have some screenshots back in my photographs because I would take still shots of how she would style it and look at it.
Yeah.
And she would show how she would cut it down and, and I loved her. And then one day she was gone. And
Yeah.
so I know that's what that's like. And she's gone. She is gone. So I know what it was like for me and how I felt. So I think I kind of felt pressured to get back on from all 3 years of no, of like saying I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming, and then I didn't want to get on here and be a downer. And so just in trying to get stuff that I can work in, trying to show that, um, not knowing how well received my legal situation would be because that's not something you see on YouTube, and everyone has an opinion, and I'm still like so starting out again all over again. The wig channel part of YouTube was on the rise back when I was in the mix, and it's kind of gone its thing and has its celebrities, if you will. And I didn't grow with that because I had life pull me down, and so I've seen that it's not glamorous. My life isn't glamorous. It and I look back at the channel that and the videos I created, and it did appear that it was glamorous. I used elements of what I saw when I would watch my YouTuber, my Blondie Locks. The elements she put out in her videos, the things I really loved about them, I implemented into mine. Where she would say, "Okay, Jeeves, get the car," and so you'll see that where I walk back and I say, table for two, and how it would look if you really saw me. It's not just like, here's my right side, here's my left side, that's what we were seeing, it's like, so that you could see the realism that it could be. I love that about hers. Hers were a little, they were cute. They were over the top because they were like, she was like a princess and she would smile and she'd have like her tooth like sparkle. So
And surely, if nothing else, you're showing that no matter where you find yourself, where you've landed after a huge explosion, you still choose to wear hair and you still have to get up every day and put one foot in front of the other and start relationships and talk to strangers and go into work, etc., etc. And that's what the wig journey really is, isn't it? It's not just posing in front of the camera and talking it up.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
so much more than that.
It is. It's not glamorous. My life isn't glamorous. It and I look back at the channel that and the videos I created, and it did appear that it was glamorous. I used elements of what I saw when I would watch my YouTuber, my Blondie Locks. The elements she put out in her videos, the things I really loved about them, I implemented into mine. Where she would say, "Okay, Jeeves, get the car," and so you'll see that where I walk back and I say, table for two, and how it would look if you really saw me,
I
how it
love
would be.
that. I love that. I love
So
that.
it's not just like, here's my right side, here's my left side, that's what we were seeing, it's like, so that you could see the realism that it could be.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I love that about hers. Hers were a little, they were cute. They were over the top because they were like, she was like a princess and she would smile and she'd have like her tooth like sparkle. So I wasn't getting what I saw on YouTube, and that was devastating because what was I going to do with it now, and it's like not anywhere near the picture in the catalog or online, and that would just, I just could not understand how they could do that. That was like, that was so I would open that stuff up right in front of you, no cutting, no this, no that. So I saw what you saw and what I could do with it. So it wasn't like I was hiding anything, because I just felt like that the money that I was spending on this, you need to see what I'm getting, because if you're not getting what I'm getting, then there's a real defect there, or something's wrong. And so
Yeah.
that was kind of my shtick, you know. And I really wasn't finding that for myself, except one girl. I found one girl. She had two videos that I found, but she was a different skin tone, you know. And that's the other thing too. Like, you know, I started out in my wig journey buying free equal tress wigs and deep tress wigs, and the roots were like a 1B. It was black to here. It wasn't made for me, but I could afford those, and I'm in that position now. I can afford those, but they don't go for me. And it's like, so the it's so, I don't know, unfair. If I don't know what. Wow, that's really something thoughtful.
We'll do a formal close now, but I'll speak to you again in a minute. So all the best to you. Bye
Love
bye.
you. I love you so much.
Bye bye.